Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, members of the committee, for allowing me to present on this item. Mr. Chair and members, as you know, this is an item that I am deeply passionate about. It's an item that I've been working on for several years, and it's all about the effects that the ARB policies have had on the most polluted communities up and down the entire state. With that said, I am prepared to resubmit the audit or request based off the answers from the agency and discussions I've had with members of the committee as well. Where to begin? I feel like my passion is overwhelming me just a bit, just because I keep thinking of those families that are suffering the most up and down the entire area. And I know they don't exist only in my communities, but they exist in communities probably for everyone sitting around the dais. It is for that reason why I fought so hard with my colleagues to ensure that there were accountability measures in some of the legislation that we have passed. One of those measures was Assembly Bill 398 back in 2017, which I believe a supermajority of members voted for, not only in the Assembly, but also in the Senate as well. And in that, we fought very hard to make sure that we had these accountability measures to ensure that the policies going forward actually made a difference in some of these communities and what were the economic benefits. And so 3 months ago, the LAO, because of the work that we've done in Assembly Bill 398, issued a report in December of 2018 that identified several issues when looking at the overall economic impacts and benefits, looking at GHG programs and a large number of transportation emission policies at CARB. Let me state for the record, the commitment and continuing effort by the state of California and the Air Resources Board to improving air quality and reducing gas emissions and other criteria pollutants to improve public health and mitigate our contribution to climate change is commendable and a laudable goal, and it is well deserving of our attention and recognition. While we have made great progress, there's still a lot of work to be done. The effects of poor quality and climate change have dramatic and long-lasting effects on public health and in the environment in which we live. And we know that these actions will not only have an impact on our lives, but to our kids and subsequent generations. In 2017, CARB designated 45 out of 58 counties throughout the state as non-attainment zones. I'm going to say that again. 45 out of the 58 counties in the entire state are in non-attainment. These counties make up about 75% of the state and include those in the Sacramento Valley, the San Joaquin Valley, the Inland Empire, Southern California, and even some counties close to the San Francisco Bay Area and some of the coastal regions as well. The poor air quality that exists in our state results in real and serious health risks to our state, and in particular to the districts and constituents that I represent and that many of you represent as well. Some of these risks put Californians at risk for premature death and other serious health effects such as asthma and lung cancer. Areas in and around the Central Valley are consistently ranked as having the worst air quality in the state and even the nation. Kern and Kings County are federally recognized as extreme non-attainment zones. According to the American Lung Association, the city of Bakersfield ranks worst, second worst, and third worst in the nation for 3 categories of air quality. People living in poverty are disproportionately exposed to air pollution. Households earning less than $20,000 a year and people who do not own cars suffer vehicle pollution levels 20% higher than the state average. Central Bakersfield and Los Angeles County have the highest concentration of particulate matter pollution from vehicles, owing in part to geographic and weather differences that retain pollution in these areas. Roughly 7.5 million Californians, about 19% of the state population, live in poverty. The significant economic and geographic factors that influence air quality and emissions must be factored into policies and programs that our state has implemented to improve air quality and achieving air quality goals for the future. Those who live in the poorest regions of the state and in areas with the worst air quality are directly linked. As we make significant investments in addressing air quality, it is critical that we examine and understand the most efficient and cost-effective ways to achieve our air quality goals. That is why I'm requesting for us to look at an audit on the transportation policies of the programs of the California Air Resources Board so that we can be well informed about the most effective programs in helping to improve the lives and health outcomes of the areas who are most in need. I would like to commend CARB for being here today to answer questions related to this audit and for our shared commitment to providing incentives and programs to the most economically and environmentally disadvantaged areas of our state. CARB has made significant investments to help address these issues. For instance, in 2017-18, 80% of the funding for funding agricultural replacement measures for emissions reduction was allocated to the San Joaquin Valley Air Pollution Control District. However, there are uncertainties and unknown costs and benefits, both direct and indirect, to many of the policies and programs that we have in place, and ensuring that we invest heavily in the most polluted and poorest areas of our state. For example, I joined many of our colleagues from rural counties in voicing our concerns about the lack of investment in electrical vehicle charging stations for rural areas. And on a side note, there was a senator, one of our Senate colleagues, who actually came to the San Joaquin Valley to host a hearing, which we hosted together, had a very, very difficult time finding a place to plug in his own vehicle. Of the $200 million proposed in the Volkswagen Cycle 2 ZEV investment plan, only $2 million, or 1% of that money, is proposed for rural charging stations. This is representative of the concerns that need to be looked at and addressed moving forward. As we invest in policies and plans to improve air quality, it is critical that we understand the impact that these will have on our state, which is what the audit request would help to achieve. I am proud to have voted for last year's extension of the Cap and Trade Program, AB 398, so that our state can continue to be an environmental leader for the nation and the world. The Legislative Analyst's Office released a report that was required as part of AB 398 that raises a number of questions and unknown costs about the policies and programs we have in place. The ALAO report also called for a greater use of independent reviewers to assess policy effects. As environmental leaders in the nation and the world, we must continue to act boldly, but not blindly. It is the hope of this request that we review and assess the effects and opportunity costs of these policies on the most environmentally and economically disadvantaged communities in our state. It is critical that we have the right tools to assess the effectiveness of policies moving forward. And in the interest of time, I'm just going to go to my closing remarks, Mr. Chair. In conclusion, I believe no agency should be above reproach. No agency should be above reproach, and it is our duty as legislators who are stewards of the taxpayer dollar to ensure that we are doing everything we can to ensure that government is efficient and responsive to California's needs. It is my intention to continue to examine and review CARB and others to ensure we are getting the most efficient and responsible use of our taxpayer dollars. I am hopeful that the governor and his administration are true to the governor's words that he said during his State of the State, where he called for more transparency and more accountability. We need to stand up and take an analytical look at what results we are having in our most polluted communities up and down the state. An audit can help provide the numbers we need to determine which programs are working and which ones are not. Are we getting the desired reductions in our most polluted areas where our families are suffering?